Welcome back to the United Stand. The Premier League returns. Man United are back in action this weekend, and it's the big one. Liverpool away at Anfield. I'm Terry Flewers. Thank you all for tuning in. Like, share, subscribe, hit the hype button, get all the admin out of the way, sit yourselves down. I can't wait. I cannot wait for this weekend. I'm nervous, but I'm excited. And we've got loads to talk about tonight. Nicky Butt going in on the football club. We've got to go into his comments. Zirkzee wanting to fight for a Man United place, but West Ham interested in our forward. We're also looking at what Bruno Fernandes has said and the players backing Ruben Amorim. And I'm going to give you what I expect from that, or what I expect to see. Because this is good for Amorim, but it increases the expectation and the need for progression. We're going to delve into all of that and much more. Let me know where you're watching from around the world. Also, it'd be great to read your comments back, and the live chat will interact with whilst we are on the air. But I can't lie, I have been counting down the days till football returned, especially as we won our last game. We beat Sunderland. I've not been on the United Stand for the past couple of weeks, as obviously it's been a little bit of a downtime from a content perspective, but it's great to be back. I love being part of this community. It's absolutely amazing. Hi to Tony Best. Hope you're well. Hello to Daniel, 49 months as a member. Says, evening, Terry. How are we tonight? I'm good. I'm having a little Pepsi Max with some ice in it. I was away in the Emerald Isle this week, visiting my son, which was great. We had a great... I hope, by the way, the results go as well as me and him playing FIFA. We played together on the same team. Beat Arsenal and we beat Liverpool. Very good team. Glad to have you back. Thank you to Franking. A Happy Life says, hello, Terry. I hope you're doing well. I'm very well, thank you. Although this is my third stream back-to-back, so the voice is feeling a little hoarse. But aside from that, I'm all good. Hi, Terry. Love the burning red background. Appreciate it. We're going to change the studio in here soon. I'm going to put up... Mark's going to call me out for copying him. Copy bridge. I'm putting up some... It's black, though. Blackboarding. I'm going to change it up. I'm going to go away from the green. Just because, actually, I like the backdrop lighting. We change the colour depending on the show I'm doing. Because of the green walls, you don't always get the colour that you want. So we're doing that. But look, let's jump into these stories, and there's loads to go through, there's loads to talk about. But I want to start with what Bruno Fernandes says. I'm also going to be breaking down and previewing the weekend's game for you as well. So very excited to be back. Bruno Fernandes has said, I'm going to read you his quote here. It says, this is what the Post says here, that Bruno Fernandes says that all Man United's players back Ruben Amorim. He says, if Sir Jim Ratcliffe, these are his exact words, if Sir Jim Ratcliffe shares the player's opinion, namely that the manager is the right person for this role, then it's a good thing to have two groups of people who share the same view. And there's a slightly updated version, actually, it's telling me here. What have I misread? I think I just made the word capital, the word share in capitals. That's the aggregator. Now, why is this good? I want you to do me a favor for a moment. I want you to do something with me. Let's do this together. Drop your... Sorry, I saw the comment. Make sure your wall doesn't drop down midstream. Fellas, I've got like a big bit of wood that covers the window in here. And at the moment, it's duct taped up because something broke on it. And I haven't... Because I'm lazy, I haven't got around to buying the new fixture. And that nearly fell on my head. So very, very similar. But no, it won't be falling on my head. I'll get it put up properly. But let's get back to Bruno's comments for a moment. And I need you to do something for me. Now, what I'm asking you to do, you need to be mature. You need to have good cognitive functions. And you've got to be open-minded. So if your brain don't work so great, if you're overly angry, overly emotional, you're going to struggle with this next 5 to 10 minutes. Okay, but I know that that won't be the United Stand community. That'll be the haters. So let's just play a game. Let's play a game. Forget what you think about Ruben Amorim. Forget that you like him, dislike him. Forget that you rate him, don't rate him. Forget whether you think he can turn it around or not. let's just live in a very neutral world for a moment. Critical thinking is needed. The ownership and the players backing him is only positive from Ruben's perspective. So this is why you've got to drop your own emotions, because if you dislike him and you think he's taken us backwards or a lack of progression, you'll see it as negative. But you need to drop your views for a minute and see it from his perspective and his point of view. Bruno has said this. I've seen Luke Shaw say it and many other players. Amorim has been backed publicly by Sir Jim. Everyone's on his side. He must improve us. That's all I'm taking from these comments. This isn't a man who is fighting the tide like King Canute. This isn't a man where the players are throwing him under the bus. They're not leaking crazy stories via their agents. You've got the Zirkzee news that's come out today, and it's a nice segue into this, where Fabrizio said Zirkzee wants to fight for his place at Manchester United. He's not happy with the current lack of game time, but it doesn't mean he's unhappy at the club, pushing for a move, etc. If, however, the situation doesn't improve come January, then exploring a move away could become a possibility. West Ham have been linked with a potential move for the player. But why I think this is highly significant and very, very important is Zirkzee's unhappy with not playing, but they're stating that he isn't downing tools. And the one thing there have been games where I've watched the United players and I didn't think they were giving their all. That may just be because we still haven't fixed the culture. But I don't think, and my mind could be swayed on this, but I don't think the players dislike, mistrust, or have a burning desire to get Ruben Amorim sacked. So he must improve us. Because if the players are truly behind him, and if every avenue he's being backed, what's the excuse for not becoming better? We're not talking about challenging for the Prem, winning the Champions League, being as good as Fergie's peak sides. Being more competitive, increasing that win percentage by 20 to 25%, being harder to beat, harder to score goals against, converting more chances. He has to. If he isn't getting us to at least that stage of progression, it's because he's just not a good enough coach for us. That's what I like about this news. It's positive, but that positivity comes with an expectation. It comes with an expectation. I don't believe this squad's talented enough to win a Premier League or challenge for a title. But if it's good enough to be in the top half, it's good enough to push for European positions, it's good enough to win over 50% of its games. Truly believe that. Truly believe it. I still think the squad needs massive work, but Ruben is underperforming with it. The fact the players are backing him, the fact that players like Zirkzee and Mainu, and we have to bring Mainu into this conversation too. Mainu is someone who could I think, this is why all these stories have done is maybe a little hopeful, and it's going to sound a little warped. I'm not someone that believes just sacking a manager at Man United fixes us because of how deep the problems are. But what I've said all along is, if the rebuild has actually been more successful than we think, if the cultural rebuild has actually been successful, but the only reason we haven't seen the fruits of that labour is because Amorim is holding us back, then sacking him will improve us, and there might then be exponential growth. The players coming out and backing him, the Mainus and the Zirkzees, not sort of leaking poisonous stories about him, I think is really good. Now, there have been some of those stories. Last international break that existed, they weren't here so much this time round. The one thing I will also say, though, this is more at the players, is come Sunday against Liverpool, I want to see that you're truly behind the manager. I want to see you guys run so hard that you can't get out of bed the next day. I want to see you run so hard that you all wake up thinking you got arthritis. I want to see you work so hard at Anfield that you're vomiting on the side of the pitch. Maybe not literally, maybe after the game. But I want to see you work yourselves into the ground. Because the one thing I would say that isn't on the coach for me, because I think this is about professionals being professional, is I don't always feel we give 100% in games at all times. I feel we have an attitude that enables us to give up. And I'm going to come back to that later because Nicky Butt says something today that is deeply, deeply concerning. But Simba here says they won't run, Terry. Well, this is it. If they don't run, it means one of two things or both. It means they don't respect the manager, like they're saying in the media. Or it just means they're unprofessional. Or both. They could disrespect him and be unprofessional. They could be really professional, but just hate working for this manager. But if you don't run, if you don't work hard, it's still massively a you thing. And sometimes, I give examples sometimes of kids. My kids, I'll be like, oh, my kids do this and I do that to make it better. But you know what? On a professional level, and I'm not talking about someone who works at Superdrugs on a Saturday, someone that's got a job sweeping up hair at a barber's as a part-time job, someone that's just doing some temporary work in an office whilst they're seeking the career of their dreams. I'm talking about genuine high performers in an industry they want to be in, earning big bucks. I'm talking sort of top percentile of workers in this world. And footballers go into that category. They love what they do. They're paid huge money. The professionalism a footballer's professionalism, you're expecting more professionalism from him or her, a professional footballer, than you are from, say, someone who works as a cashier in a bank. The cashier in the bank's a few minutes late, or didn't quite try and sell insurance to every person that day. As much as they might get reprimanded internally, there's not going to be a panorama documentary on that cashier not doing their job. But I think when it comes to a football player, if they're cutting their corners, going to bed too late, eating the wrong things, not running enough in games, it's a much bigger issue. So there is a professionalism thing here, and they have to run. They absolutely have to do it on every single level. They really do. And if the players and the ownership are going to keep saying they're back in Amorim, then one, I want to see these guys run through brick walls. But Amorim's got to improve the team. He's got to get results. He's got to get his tactics right. He's got to get his approach and his substitutions correct. And no better time to do it than in the biggest game in club football globally. There is no bigger game, in my opinion. There is none. Fenerbahce, Galatasaray, amazing, massive, not as big as this. Okay? All those big South American clashes, and I can't name off the top of my head. Why? Because I had a few Pepsi Maxes. But you know the ones I'm talking about. There's the Glasgow derby. There's a North London derby. The Milan derby. El Clasico. And you're going to name more in the comments. You're going to name more. Manchester United, Liverpool. I can guarantee you this. It's one of the most viewed derbies in the world every year. And this weekend will be no different. If these players can't run this weekend, they lack professionalism, they lack pride, and I don't believe they back the manager. And if they're not backing the manager, I'm not saying we should bow down to these players, but he has even less of a future than many of us expect. But I'd love to get your views. I'd love to get your opinions. We've got a poll running right now that do you think the players are behind the manager? 70% of you say yes, which is very, very interesting indeed. John here says, we've heard it all before, prove it on the pitch rather than talking about it. Exactly. Could not agree with you more, my old pedigree chum. I think you're absolutely right when you say that. I really, really do. We have a super chat here from Marlo. He says, I'm from Norway. I've been watching Sanderberg for the national team a lot. He's always quietly the best player. I think United need more of that. Not a shirt seller, just someone that does their job with integrity. I think it's a really good point, to be fair with you. I think it's a really, really good point. And I feel that he's a really talented player. We were linked with him 3 or 4 years ago. And I look at him now in the Prem, and he could have definitely helped Man United. MUFC MPB, is that the official account? Is that the actual account? Big up yourself. He says, bring back MUFC MPB. Please share my hashtag, bring back MUFC MPB. Big up Terry, and let's beat Liverpool Sunday. I hope so. By the way, my Football Terrace Twitter account got hacked, and they started posting crypto stuff. We got back into it pretty quickly, deleted it all. They then blocked it. been appealing for 7 weeks and still ain't got the account back. It's crazy because Elon Musk has allowed everyone that in the world to come back onto that platform and speak, but someone hacks your account and you can't get it back. It's a massive flaw on X's platform. I tell you that now. I really, really do. They lack pride if they don't run against Grimsby. What I will say is, typically speaking, we do step up in these games. We do run in these games. We do. I think sometimes it's the smaller games that we lack the pride in, or we lack the work ethic in. Patrick Lynch here. Hope you're well, bro. Says, big up, Terry. Hope you are good. Hope you had a good break in Ireland. I did, my friend. It was lovely. I hope we can get a result at the weekend. I hope so too. And I'll break it down to you. I'll break it down to how I think it's going to go. Man United can beat Liverpool this weekend. And I know that straight away people are going to jump into the comment section. I know straight away people are going to say that's crazy. There's no chance. There's no way. That can't happen. You're deluded. You're gassing it. You're jinxing it. I already know the reaction when you say that straight away, but Man United can win this weekend. There is no doubt in my mind we can win this weekend. The way we play with Ruben Amorim, it is kryptonite to this current Liverpool team. What Liverpool do, I don't have any paper in front of me to show you, but essentially, they used to play with a 3 midfield. They used to play 3 midfield, and it would be wide across the pitch. And what would happen when the fullbacks push forward is one or two of those midfield players would sit, and they would move out into wide areas. This made it very difficult when the likes of Trent and Robinson, in their peak, in their pomp, would push forward. And when they would push forward, those guys would cover that space, which made it hard to counter-attack him. What's happened so far this season is they're playing a 4-2-3-1, which is a variation of a 4-3-3. But their double pivot is narrow, and it isn't covering those spaces as much, but they're still pushing the fullbacks forward. So there is loads of space that's been exploiting the centre-backs. There's a lot of room to run into, which is why teams have been counter-attacking so brilliantly against Liverpool for large proportions of the season. That is where we can utilise Mbeumo. That is where we can utilise Mount. And of course, Cunha, if he starts, will come on from the bench, plus our fullbacks as well. Equally, I'd be going with, if they're both fit, I haven't actually looked at the updates. Delo and Dorgu is who I would start the game with as well. We need as much pace and width in the team as possible. That's where we can exploit them. Okay? Although there's a comment here from Aiden that says nervous about Luke Shaw probably having to play against Salah on the left side. Hope we turn up and get the win. Yeah, and listen, I'm nervous about Liverpool's attack coming to life. I'm nervous about Liverpool's attack finally coming together. Man United breathing new life into it, and suddenly we're left stranded. We're left frustrated. We're left in a predicament. But there'll be areas to exploit. I believe in the game. And now I want to give you my distinction and my descriptions here of what an opportunity is versus a chance. A chance for me, Cunha versus Fulham. Those two opportunities, there's two chances he had to score, they're chances. Šeško's goals against Brentford and against Sunderland, they're chances, and he took them. Penalties are chances. You get the drift. Opportunities are Mbeumo versus Arsenal in the second half. Great play from Cunha. Moves the ball into Mbeumo. But Ahmad makes the wrong run, essentially. Doesn't pull in the defenders away from Mbeumo and actually gets in his way, and a block happens. Second half against Sunderland. We're breaking through the middle. Cunha makes a brilliant run. Mbeumo has to just slip him through. He'll go through one-on-one, can make it 3-0 and kill the game and make us all relax. The final ball doesn't happen. So I look at an opportunity as we had the ball in a dangerous place, but the final ball, the final pass, whether to put the man in goal, to cut it back, or to set up the goal-scoring chance, when it doesn't happen. Now, statistically, it doesn't count as a chance. It doesn't count as a key pass or you get no XG. But us football fans understand it. Another great example. Mbeumo brings the ball out wide, crosses it across the 6-yard box. It's gaping for someone to put the ball in the back of the net. But Šeško or Cunha or Mount doesn't make the run. They're standing still. That is an opportunity to score. You could even argue that's a chance that we didn't take. Man United will have at least 5 opportunities or chances to score in this game against Liverpool. I don't see Liverpool improving to a point where we don't get those opportunities, where we don't get those chances. But it's about handling the Anfield pressure. Now, what I'm hoping for as a Man United fan is that Anfield's nervous, that Liverpool start the game slowly, that Man United come up the traps well, as we did last year, and we kill the atmosphere, we kill the vibe, and then we take our chances. And we go a goal up, dreamland if we went 2-0 up, and we see the game out, and we grow, and we say, well done. Let's go on to the next game now. Can we win 3 on the bounce? We'd jump up into the top half of the league. We'd only be a couple of points behind Liverpool. And the hope there would be, come on, Ruben, because as much as you may rate him, I may want him gone, she might want him sacked, he's still on the fence. I think we all want the same thing, which is Man United to become stronger, better, harder to beat, go up the table and get back to the peak of our powers. Sounds easy, right? And this is where mentality comes in. Ability is a very important part of football, and I get why we discuss it a lot as fans. But, and this is a Kardashian-size but, a big one, a massive one. J-Lo ain't got nothing on this but, I'll tell you now. I don't think we can handle the pressure. And that scares me. That scares me to my core. It scares me to my core. I don't know if the players can handle it. I don't know if the players have got the minerals for it. I don't know if the players can stay calm and collected in the right areas, aggressive and assertive at the right times. And beyond this 90 minutes, the element that's sobering, that leaves me almost laying awake at night thinking about it. The last 2 nights I have laid in bed thinking about the game and the results. How will I feel? What will I say? And I have to think that way because of the job that I do. I don't script anything I'm going to say, but I do think about how will I feel if we win? How will I feel if we lose? What if we get slapped? What if we win well? I think it's important to think. I'm sure you all do the same thing. Everybody watching, whether you're a United fan, Liverpool fan, a rival, just like football, you think like that. The thing that keeps me awake, the thing that scares me, truly, is breathing life back into Liverpool. Although, I'll be fair and I'll be honest and open about what I think of them because I want to be as honest a content creator as I can be. I don't want Liverpool to win. Of course I don't. They're my biggest rival, my fierce, most bitter rival. Why would I want them to win? Maybe if it was to stop City doing the quad, because that surpasses any achievement we've had. Maybe then would make sense. I need them to lose. But the one thing that I cannot remove is this feeling that we could be the ones where Wirtz and Isak come to life, where Salah finds his legs, the midfield gets the balance between attack and defending correct, Kirkes turns into the Bournemouth version of that very player, and we get thumped, we get beat, we get hurt. We can beat Liverpool. I stand on that. I believe that. We can do it. The problem is, I just don't think we will. I want to know what you think. I want to get your views. I want to get your opinions right now. Leave them in the comments section below. What do you think's happening in this game? Let us know now. The United Stand here says, if Kirkez starts, Mbeumo should be targeting Liverpool's left side. He's looked weak so far this season. I agree 100%. That should be where we're focusing. No doubt about it. Pizza here says, I own a business. You blaming Amorim to any degree is like burning your assistant manager because you don't give them the tools. Think about it. But it depends. So again, I get where you're coming from, but let's break down your view. So the only way the assistant manager doesn't take any blame is, does he have an oven that works? Does he have the dough? Does he have the cheese and the tomato? Does he have all the toppings that are needed? Does he have the staff to make it? The staff to take the phone calls? The staff to get the orders together? Do we have a delivery team to get it out? Do we have electric? Do we have running water? Has the marketing been done properly? Do people know you exist? Are you busy? There's multiple factors that would go into that. And before I can agree or disagree with you, Pizza, I have to understand what you've given the assistant manager. Because do Man United have all of the components to go and challenge for the Premier League title and be the very best version of ourselves we can be? No. But can we win more than 25-30% of our games? Yes. Can we score more goals? Yes. Could we have someone come in and coach us so we're not as easy to concede chances? We don't concede chances as easily. Absolutely. So I need the variables before I can do the equation. Again, and then you need to make me understand. If you're saying that the pizza shop has no electric, has no oven, there's no dough, there's no cheese, there's no staff, the phone line's cut off, of course I couldn't have a go at the assistant manager if it's my job to get all those things in place for the assistant manager to be successful. But how would that equate to Man United? We have a stadium. The electric's turned on. There's an average to good workforce at the very least. You need to break that down more. I think it's too simplistic and it's too much of a reductionist opinion. But I agree with Ryan T. I do fancy some pizza now. I do. Let's have a look at some more comments. Terry saw my comment on one of his videos in his channel regarding presenting shows without a cap. I present quite often. Do you know what it is? I'm having some surgery done, and they had to cut my hair really short about 3.5 weeks ago to see what needs to be done, and they had to like thin it out as well, and it was really choppy. There was all like chunks missing where they had to cut into some areas, and it looked awful. So I've been a bit more protective of showing my head in the last few weeks, but it's growing back now, so it's a lot better. It's a lot better. Lemens is starting, he said in his interview. Yeah, I'm glad that Lemens is starting. I think that's really key for Man United, that he starts the game. Absolutely is. That he needs to start. I'm glad that he's starting, and I just hope and pray he has a good game. Everything that happened with Lemens is how I predicted, which is nice, and I hope that pressure's relieved. But I'm still seeing the Amorim outers. I'm still seeing people go mad that he didn't start straight away. But it's literally their anger that I think is the right reason for him not to. The expectation and the pressure the outers are putting on the players and club is unrealistic for where we are. It's not unrealistic to where we want to be, but it's unrealistic in the here and now. And I hope he starts, but if he does make any little mistakes, if he doesn't have the greatest of games, I really do hope that Man United fans stand by this young man, give him time, protect him as much as possible, because these players need it. Some of these players need it. The ones that have only just arrived, definitely. Why are we so focused on the results? Let's focus more on performance. It's time for leadership to not drop their heads and understand it's Liverpool. Yeah, listen, you make a really good point. You know, if we play well and got narrowly beat, I think most Man United fans could accept that to a certain degree, because if you could replicate that performance again, there's a chance of winning. The issue is we've had a lot of good performances, even this year. Arsenal was pretty good. I liked Fulham. The other good performances we won. Brentford was awful. Last season, I can think of games, Wolves and West Ham, Man City at home, Liverpool away, where we had good, Arsenal at home, second half especially, very good performances, but we didn't win. And there just comes this point where there's a tolerance level for performances without wins. What United really need in a game like this is a really good performance and a victory. I just think it would do so much to relieve pressure on everybody. But I do get your overarching point. Daniel here says, hope you are doing well, Terry, and hopefully everything is going well with the surgery. Yes, it's by the way, it's cosmetic. It's cosmetic. I am getting a new hair transplant. That's all. That's all. The original one stuck perfectly. There's just a few areas that I want to touch up. That's all it is. Nothing bad. Ryan says, patience is a virtue. Patience is a virtue. And I don't know if there's a nice saying for this. It is a virtue, but we have to see progression as a team. We have to see progression on the pitch. We really do. Hair Terry Bridge. Doesn't quite work. Daniel here says, something that will show is if we've done our homework on players like Salah, because every single time we play Liverpool, he is fantastic. So hopefully we learn some reasons from the past on that front. I get that. Okay, Pizza's come back to us now, and Pizza has said, manager chooses who comes in and out for the manager to choose from. That's the equation. Why do the Glazers keep players that can't win two in a week? Glazers out, Amorim, Sir Jim, Ineos in. Well, look, Ineos are actually running the football operation. I do get your point about the players. The issue that you have is that you can't get rid of the whole squad and buy a new one in one summer. It was never going to be possible or plausible. Financially, it's never going to be doable. History of football shows that doesn't really happen, not at the highest level of the game. Now, from that point of view and from that perspective, what I think is really, really key is for Amorim to get the time for that squad to be rebuilt for him, he has to improve the amount of games that we're winning. Had he won 25% more games at the club and we were winning 55, 60% of our matches and we were sitting fifth in the league, I don't think people would have any problem with waiting for the squad to get better. But the win percentage is so low, that cannot be ignored. It just can't. 27% of football operations, pal. No, they don't. No, they don't. They don't. They run the footballing element of the club. They have practically carte blanche on that. The only thing that the Glazers still have a say on is the money that's being spent, but they run it day to day. Look, I don't normally do this. I've really got to run to the toilet. So unprofessional of me. I am so sorry. I'm going to be back in 2 seconds. Very sorry. Honestly, I've done 3 back-to-back streams and I forgot to go to the bathroom before going live. So it's been hours. I'm very sorry. I'm back. Where were we? I had to run, man. I was literally sitting here for, oh no. Because I started streaming at 3 o'clock this afternoon. And I've just been doing back-to-back shows and I didn't go to the bathroom. And I thought, I really need to run. And I've drunk like 1.5 of these things full of water and it got me. It caught me short. Thanks, people. I appreciate it. Smash the like for Terry draining the lizard. More like a newt, but thank you. I appreciate it. What were we even talking about? Oh, Greg, this guy's horrendous. Oh, listen, Greg, you don't have to like my opinions and my views. What you could do which would be nice. Listen, I appreciate being challenged and I really like it. What you could do, Greg, is tell me what I'm saying you disagree with. Maybe it isn't my opinions. Maybe it's the way I present, the way I talk, the way I behave. There's nothing I can do about that because I'm not going to change who I am. But if it's a footballing opinion, maybe we could try and find some common ground. Let me know. I'd love to have a chat with you, Greg. Big up yourself for being here today with it. Streaming. Okay. Hello, Terry. Could any United stand or TFT cover United's women? Do you know what? I actually watched the women play last night in the Champions League. I watched it with my son. And so we were actually downloading the new FIFA game. We were cooking dinner and we had the game on and I enjoyed it. I can't speak for the United stand because I don't operate in that capacity here. For me personally, it's bandwidth. I don't actually know how many more shows I could do across the platforms I already have. I don't even have enough time to cover all the elements of the men's game that I want to cover. I think it's something we could look to do and expand into. But I'll be honest with you, and I'm not speaking for the United stand directly here. This is where we need more. I think for that to happen, I think you need more viewers to become members. You need more people super chatting. We need to probably partner with more brands so that and it's a money thing. It really is a money. For me, it's a money thing because if you want to bring more people on and experts, people that understand the game, everybody wants money. And that means you've got to pay more people. It means you've got to bring money in to get it done. And it becomes hard. Like you end up hitting this bit of a ceiling, especially when you want to expand and do new things. So I suppose there's a way that can happen. Samantha here says, Terry, you're fine. I really like you, mate. Appreciate it, Sam. Big up yourself. Listening to other people's views when you don't agree gives you perspective. I think one of the things in the football content creation space is we don't spend enough time trying to find commonality, common ground, an understanding of where each other are coming from. And we live in a really weird society at the moment where being friendly, maybe even being good friends with, but being friendly with, being cordial with, being respectful with people we disagree with on any level. Maybe I'm an old man now, but I grew up in an era where two people could see the world differently, but still get on great. We now live in a world where people are almost, if you don't vote this way, drink this, eat this, support this football team in this way, and if you don't view this person like that and that individual like this, if you hate these books and you love this music, if you don't do this, if you don't eat that, you're dead to me. I just find it really sad. I find it a really, really sad way to exist. And variety is the spice of life, my dad used to say to me, and it's true. But you'd never get that variety if everybody was the same. There we go. That's what I love about what we do as a job. I don't look a day over 28. Thank you, Will Rooney. Well, there's no grey hair yet, which is nice. It's thinning, but there's no grey hair yet, which is good. I say that, and it's going to go grey tomorrow morning. Greg Berg, please be more concrete. Criticism is okay, but please be constructive about it. Yeah, and listen, if you haven't watched me on here a lot, I'm really open to the criticism or the challenging of my opinion. Just do it respectfully. And let's have a conversation. This is from Ultra X, I can't back Ruben when I see him playing Maguire, Shaw, Mount, Casemiro and losing. Playing Bruno at 6 is dumb. If he plays like this, win the games, no. If he loses, I can't. I do understand that perspective. I understand the perspective because I think a lot of people look at this and think, well, a lot of these players have been used before and fouled before, and you're still playing them. There are academy players that could be played. There are options there. But that being said, it kind of brings us very nicely into the situation with what Nicky Butt has said this evening. So Nicky Butt has been very damning of the football club. And there's a quote here I want to read. He's been very damning, but I kind of back him in some of what he said. Not all of it, this one especially. Nicky Butt here said, I am sick to death. So when people say pick other players other than the usual suspects that have made us lose, I get there's Aiden Heaven and there's Lenny Yoro's been on the bench a little bit and Mainu should be in the team. I agree with that. But I hear a lot of play the kids, play the kids, play the kids. I don't know how good a condition our academy's really in. Forget what Sir Jim said. A lot of people got angry when Sir Jim said if the academy's run well, it saves us money. A lot of people interpreted that as us selling those players for profit. Partly for me, the other side of it was if you develop top-class players in your academy, you don't have to drop 80, 90 million, 100 million on others. But Nicky Butt said this. I'm sick to death of hearing people at Man United's academy saying it's not about winning. He says it's effing about winning because if you've never won anything from 13 all the way up, how are you expected to go and win in the first team? I can't disagree. Now, I know straight away my detractors will say, Terry, but you say there's more to football than winning. And there is. There is more to football than winning. As in winning the trophies. There's far more, especially from a fan perspective, there is the community, the camaraderie. There is the journey that comes along with it. There's so many elements of football that you can celebrate and enjoy. It isn't just the trophies. The trophies are not the only... So when I say it's more than about just winning, it isn't just winning the trophies that you can celebrate. That's got to be the aim, especially a club the size of Manchester United. How are we telling our academy players it's okay not to win? I know the world has gone sort of uber woke. And I even remember this, the back end of my time at school, which was 23, 24 years ago, when they started not wanting to give out gold medals to the winners and everyone would just get a medal. And I remember thinking at the time, that's crazy. Why would we do that? And I get they want everybody to feel included. They want everybody to feel successful. And I remember being 15, 16 at school. And I got in trouble for this. I just said, well, why don't we create different categories? I didn't know how to name it right. I probably didn't name it. I probably said as a 15, 16-year-old, why don't we have a category for like the fat kids and a category for the athletic kids? And you probably shouldn't word it in that way. But the thought process is right. It's like categorize it. You know, and the example I gave them was I was kickboxing and fighting at the time. And when you were under the age of 16, the way the categories were worked out was by height. So you got measured. So if you, it didn't matter, to a degree, it didn't matter your age. To a degree. But if you were like 12 and you were 4'8", you might fight. Puberty is when they started to change it a little bit. So if you had a kid that's in puberty, you might go into that kind of do it on the day. But generally, you were measured in by height. And then when you got to sort of 15, 16, it was all done on weight. But you have different categories based on weight and height in my sport. And I said, well, can't we do something like that in school? So on sports day, you have the taller, stronger, fitter kids in this race. You have the shorter kids in this race. You have the bigger kids in this race. And they looked at me like I was crazy. That was at schools, and I understood why they wanted to make everybody feel included. But these aren't meant to be elite footballing academies. How are we not promoting a sense of winning at an elite academy? And again, I go back to my old sport. I was pretty good at it. But the way most of the clubs, the martial arts clubs, the karate clubs, the kickboxing clubs, the way they worked, is there was a lot of clubs you go to now, it's really hard for me to find clubs for my kids because a lot of them are just belt factories. They do 2 or 3 classes a day, 45 minutes long. Every 2 months, everybody goes to a grading. Everybody passes the grading. They get the belts all the way up to black belt. Great, you're a black belt. Woo! That for me isn't martial arts. Not being rude, that's just rubbish. For me, I want to find a martial arts centre that's open 6, 7, 8 hours a day, and you have a variety of classes. But the way my club worked is that you had sort of open classes that anybody could come to. You had senior classes that was based on belt grade, and then you had the elite classes. So the elite classes were people that didn't really matter what belt you were. It was do you want to be a competitor? Do you want to be part of the competition squad? So I was doing 5 hours a day because I was doing the basic training and the normal training. I was doing the senior belt grade as I got there, and I was doing the competitive stuff. And then I become a coach of those things. But we always had to say to the parents, like, if your kids want to be in the elite group, in the competitive team, there's a few rules. One, we talk to you differently in that class because we're trying to make you perform at the highest level. You need to be able to operate under pressure. Some of you are trained to be fighters. You have to handle crowds and noise because sometimes, whether it's katas, whether it's fighting, you're in auditoriums with hundreds and sometimes thousands of people. There's also pushing through barriers to get you to that next level. We also brought something in from the States. Our sport was very popular in the States. We went and brought in a student-athlete curriculum. So we would say to the kids, you can be part of the competitive team, but you can't be getting kicked out of school, suspended from school. You've got to have good grades. Some of the parents hated that. And I remember when I was 17, 18 as a coach, having an argument with a parent saying, hang on, so you're angry that we're trying to make your kid work harder at school? Well, it ain't down to you to make my kid work at school. It's for me. I said, yes, but we're trying to help you. Like, she couldn't see it. Anyway, so we were doing that in a sport that didn't have the money and the investment that football has. The fact that Man United Football Club, and I know this is kind of a long-winded story, but I had to give you some context and life to this. The fact that Nicky Butt, who was there, is saying that we are telling kids, academy players, teenagers, that football isn't about winning, from a competitive point of view, is crazy. Yes, we've got to teach them about camaraderie, fair play, integrity. We've got to teach them that just because you don't win, it doesn't mean your whole world has to fall apart, because you can rebuild, you can come again. There's so many lessons, and as someone who, so when people talk about, oh, you're too young, got the right attitude, how many of you competed and won medals at British, European and world level for your country? I did. So don't tell me about not understanding what it takes to compete. And yes, you've got to teach kids that winning is important, but you've got to teach them how to handle losing, how to become better after losing, how to process defeat, and equally how defeat can make you better. And I remember I went to a tournament once and I got a bronze medal at the World Championships in 2002. 2003, I went out there. I didn't even place in the top 10. I was so gutted. But I remember flying home, and that was in Italy, that tournament, and the determination it gave me. And my coach blasted me, and he said, he kind of said, I didn't pull you on this 2 months ago. He said, I knew this was coming. I felt you were going into this tournament too lackadaisical. I didn't think you were training hard enough. But he said, I wanted you to fail. And at the time, it made me angry. I think I cried. I was only 15, 16, maybe 17. And it just not like bawling my eyes out, just teary. And my big brother was listening. And I thought my brother was going to come over and have a pop at him. And my brother come over and went in even harder. He says, you've been training this whole time. I've flown out here. We paid this money. And you weren't giving it your all. And it was in that moment where I realized that winning wasn't everything about sport. Because that moment of failure made me work hard, made me better. Came back a year later. Obviously, I won the British, I won the Europeans. I got a few big other trophies, but I came back. Didn't win the World Championships, but I got a silver. And then 2 months later was the World Cup, which was essentially the same difference. And smashed it, and I won 3 gold medals. And that was through losing. Because of that loss, it helped me to achieve that over the next 12 to 18 months. But the fact that we don't care about winning at Man United, this is when I sometimes say to people, if this story is as true as Nicky Butt's making it, how do we expect the first team to win? If we're pumping it in at every level of the club, winning don't matter, winning don't matter, winning don't matter, winning don't matter, how do you expect the first team to work hard? How do you expect them to run through the barriers every day to win? This is when this is the opposite to what I was speaking about earlier. And this is why I said to you at the start, I need you to take your own mindset out of this and think openly. If the club is injecting this message from grassroots right to the top, that it's not about winning, sacking Ruben Amorim doesn't matter. That isn't defending Ruben Amorim. It's just stating a fact. John here says, as a competitive player at United, I believe it should always be about winning. Otherwise, it's not competitive sport anymore. And that's just a really good point. You are trying to win. There's more to the game than just winning. You can learn through other means, not just winning. But your ultimate aim has got to try and be to get to the top. It doesn't mean you shouldn't enjoy the journey. It doesn't mean that if you win every game up to the final of a Champions League, that you have to go, I hear this a lot now. Yeah, all those games we won, meaningless. No. Man United won many a brilliant Champions League night in my life where we didn't go on to win the tournament, and those nights still mean something. where you saw great tenacity, great work, great perseverance, brilliant goals, wonderful play, that doesn't all become irrelevant because you didn't win the tournament. That's where I don't agree that it's because, again, he's saying they're telling the players it isn't about winning. I think that's wrong. Equally, I wouldn't be telling these kids it's all about winning. If you teach people that everything's about winning only and everything outside of winning is disaster, treacherous, awful, crap, you're going to make people ill. You've got to get the balance right. Sport is about trying to become the best, be the best, win at the top. But it also teaches you about loss. It teaches you about sacrifice. It teaches you about handling adversity. And the people that never understand this are typically people that have never played sport at a decent level. And I assure you, you've got to get that balance right. The other side of what Nicky Butt said, and I want to get your taste on this, is your take on this. He said, it's unbelievable. Actually, I'm going to read the full thing. It makes it a little bit more sense to say this. It goes, for the past 2 years, Nicky Butt and Paul Scholes have been chatting about United and Let's come back here for 2 hours. Let's get to the quotes here. They agree Ruben Amorim, the club's head coach, is running out of time. Sacking Amorim is going to happen sooner or later. I can't see it being turned around, Nicky Butt says. They also accept United brought some duds over the past few years, and most alarmingly for them, feel the club are losing its identity right before their eyes. More significantly, they are worried about the supposed Manchester City faction of United after a number of arrivals across the town to Old Trafford. He says here, you've got the footballing director Jason Wilcock, Barada, and others who have previously worked at City, Scholes says. I don't think Man United should do that. City have been good for the past 10 years, so we hope they will bring a bit of that. But it's not what a Man United person would want. It's not what we want, and it's probably not what the fans want either. You talk about DNA, there's nobody there that knows what what a Man United person is. Darren Fletcher, the under-18s coach, is the only one who knows anything about what it's like to be a Man United player. And look, you don't always have to be the best player. You just have to have the balls to be able to play for the club, don't you? And look, I kind of understand an element of that. He goes on to say here, unbelievable. Every City staff member goes to United now. Madrid wouldn't do it with Barcelona or vice versa. And I do agree with a certain element of what they're talking about. I do agree with a certain perspective on that. But I also feel like I don't know what they're asking for. So I can get on board with the idea that we need to bring in sporting direct. We need to bring in Edwin van der Sar. We need to go out and find people that are working in the game at a higher level as sporting directors, CEOs, running football clubs that have been at the club, done well here, hold a level of respect, and know what it's like to be at Man United. The problem is, the other side of that is we've tried with other managers to sort of do the Fergie Busby way of the manager having a lot of control and the club trying to build the club in their image. And that has failed miserably. So although they're looking at it now and they're saying under what Ineos are doing, the club's losing its identity, I feel as though trying to do it the Man United way in the previous 11 years was also failing. And what you may be getting now is, now that real change is coming in, there's a kind of initial kickback to it. No, we shouldn't be operating this way. But I honestly don't see what the alternative is. And maybe we don't need people that have been at Man City. Maybe we need to go further afield. But at the same time, when people say we've got to do it the United way, I need to understand this is where I'm not on the podcast. I'm not doing the questions. I need you to break down what that sounds like. Because Nicky Butt's been there. He's been working. Well, why weren't you instilling it? These guys are in and around the club. Why are you not instilling the... Can you... If you say Man United's got a DNA, especially if you've been there, right? You've been at the club. Well, how do you articulate that? Are you sitting down with Sir Jim, with Ineos, and able to tell them that won't work at this club? You need to behave this way. We need to integrate these things. These are the methodologies. These are the kind of players. This way of playing works because the fans like it, and it gets the fans up. And if the fans are up, where are these conversations? So I'm not overly disagreeing. And Terry Tibbs says, United had a DNA. Yes, I understand we had one. But why can't nobody... I don't expect fans to do this because there are loads of things that happen internally that we're not privy to. Nicky Butt and Scholes could be right. But where's the breakdown of what that looks like? I've heard Rene Millenstein speak about the club loads of times. And they mention DNA, and I know it exists, but why can't any of them articulate it? Why can't any of them break down how you install it? Why can't any of them detail the people that could come in and run the club and bring it back? I need more. I don't, especially from Butty and Scholesy. I love both men as footballers dearly. But I need your solution. This is what I'm hearing. We're the people that should be fixing the club. We know the DNA. We play for the club. We understand what it takes to get the club back to the top. Then do a pitch. And if your pitch fails, go on the podcast and break it down. Granular detail we want. How do you do it? That's the bit I'm frustrated with. That's the bit I can't quite grasp. If that makes sense. I want your views. Listen, people. Oh, by the way, there's been a bit of an update while we've been live, actually. The consortium based in the UAE, initial talks with Man United have been rejected. A formal approach made in the last 24 hours. They believe talks can be restarted. David Beckham is also keen on this role. UAE is serious. According to... That's from Indy. So I know a lot of people like him. I know a lot of people don't take it seriously. But the initial approach has been rejected. What's really interesting about this UAE thing... Jacobs keeps mentioning some of it. None of the major journalists have shut it down as far as we know yet. I find that very interesting indeed. Let's watch this space. The world could change. But even then, it's got to be the United way, right? Listen, everyone who's tuned in, I want to say a big thank you to each and every single one of you. Like, share, subscribe, please. Until next time, take care. Goodbye. I think this is going to redirect you, by the way, to the That's Football watch-along for the Bundesliga with Mark. So go and support him over there. Until next time, take care. Goodbye. God bless.